Imagine waking up after 8 hours of sleep and still feeling exhausted. Not physically, mentally. Your body is awake, your brain isn't. You make coffee, it helps for about 20 minutes. You check your phone while drinking it. One notification becomes 5, 5 becomes 20. By the time you leave the house, your brain has already made more decisions than your grandparents probably made before lunch. What should I wear? Should I reply now? What's for breakfast? Should I check my email? Did I pay that bill? Why did my ex like my friend's photo from 3 years ago? It's 8:30 in the morning, and your brain is already asking for overtime pay. Most people think they're mentally tired because they work too much. But here's the strange part. A construction worker can spend 10 hours carrying bricks, come home physically exhausted, and still have enough energy to laugh with their family over dinner. Meanwhile, someone sits in an air-conditioned office all day, barely lifting anything heavier than a coffee mug, and by 5 p.m. they feel like they've been hit by a truck. How does that make sense? Because mental exhaustion has very little to do with how hard your body works. It has everything to do with how often your brain switches gears. Think about your brain like a computer. Open 1 tab, no problem. Open 5 tabs, still manageable. Open 47 tabs, start playing music, begin downloading updates, stream a video, forget where the sound is coming from, and accidentally leave Photoshop open. Suddenly, the fan sounds like it's preparing for takeoff. That's not because one task was difficult. It's because everything was competing for attention at the same time. Your brain works the same way. Every notification, every decision, every unfinished task, every "I'll deal with that later." Every time you switch from work to Instagram, to emails, back to work, to YouTube, to texting someone else, your brain has to reload the entire context. In that tiny reload, it costs far more energy than most people realize. The scary part is, most of us aren't mentally tired because we're doing too much. We're mentally tired because we're thinking about too much. Here's something nobody tells you. Your brain doesn't get tired because it's working. It gets tired because it never gets to finish working. Imagine reading a book, but every 30 seconds someone slams it shut, then hands you another one, then another, then another. By the end of the day, you've technically read 50 books, but you can't remember a single chapter. That's modern life. You answer one email. Halfway through, your phone buzzes. You reply to a message. While replying, you remember you forgot to pay a bill. You open your banking app. Before logging in, you notice a news headline. One article becomes 3. 3 become a YouTube video. The video reminds you to buy protein powder. Now you're shopping online. 20 minutes later, you're holding your phone wondering, what was I doing again? Sound familiar? Your brain never actually finished the first task. It simply kept carrying it. Psychologists sometimes describe this as your mind holding on to unfinished business. Every unfinished conversation, every decision you've postponed, every tab you left open, every promise you made to yourself. They're all sitting quietly in the background. Individually, they don't seem like much. Together, they're like carrying a backpack. At first, it weighs almost nothing. Then someone slips in a book, then a laptop, then a water bottle, then a brick. You barely notice each addition until one day you wonder why walking feels so difficult. Seriously, mental exhaustion works exactly like that. It rarely arrives overnight. It accumulates. But there's another problem that's even worse. Your brain has become addicted to novelty. Not because you're lazy, because every new piece of information feels rewarding. A notification, a headline, a text, a meme, a short video. Your brain receives a tiny reward every single time something new appears. The problem is, novelty is exciting. Progress usually isn't. Building a business isn't exciting every minute. Studying isn't exciting every minute. Learning a language isn't exciting every minute. Even achieving your biggest goals is surprisingly repetitive. Meanwhile, your phone can give you 50 tiny rewards before you've even brushed your teeth. So when it's finally time to focus, your brain isn't bored. It's simply expecting something more interesting to happen every few seconds, and when it doesn't, it starts looking for the next hit.
Now here's the twist. None of this is actually your fault. Well, not entirely. Because your brain wasn't built for the world you're living in. For almost all of human history, your ancestors had a fairly simple list of things to worry about. Find food, avoid danger, stay warm, protect the people around you. That was enough to keep the brain busy. Today, before lunch, you've probably processed more information than someone living 300 years ago would encounter in weeks. News from 5 different countries, messages from 10 different people, 3 work emails, 2 package delivery updates, a weather alert, a funny video your friend insisted you had to watch. And somehow, your brain treats all of it as equally important. It doesn't know the difference between a lion hiding in the bushes or your phone vibrating because someone liked a photo you posted 6 months ago. To your brain, both interrupt whatever you were doing, and every interruption has a cost. Researchers sometimes call this attention residue. Imagine painting a wall. Halfway through, someone pulls you into another room to paint a different wall. 5 minutes later, they send you somewhere else, then somewhere else. Eventually, you're standing in a room wondering, which wall was I painting? Seriously, that's exactly what happens every time you switch tasks. Part of your attention stays behind. Your brain never fully catches up. Now, imagine doing that 50 or 60 times every single day. No wonder you feel drained. But something even stranger. Most people try to solve mental exhaustion by doing absolutely nothing. They collapse onto the couch, open Netflix, start scrolling, watch videos, browse social media. And while it feels like rest, your brain is still consuming. Well, it's like saying, my legs are exhausted from walking, so I'm going to run on a treadmill instead. Different activity, same system. Real mental recovery doesn't happen when your brain switches to different information. It happens when it finally gets a break from processing information altogether. That's why some of your best ideas appear in the shower, or while taking a walk, or washing the dishes, or staring out the window during a long drive. Your brain finally has enough silence to finish the conversations it started hours ago. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is absolutely nothing. Not because you're being lazy, because you're finally giving your mind permission to breathe. So if your brain isn't broken, what do you actually do? You don't need another productivity app, you don't need another morning routine, and you definitely don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. because someone on the internet told you successful people do. You need to stop treating your attention like it's unlimited, because it isn't. Think of your attention like your phone battery. Every conversation drains it, every decision drains it, every notification, every worry, every unfinished task. Every time you wonder what someone meant by a text they sent 3 hours ago, another 1% disappears. The problem isn't that your battery runs out. The problem is you're plugging in 20 different devices and wondering why your own phone never reaches 100%. Start by finishing small things. Reply to the message, pay the bill, close the browser tabs, write the idea down instead of trying to remember it. Your brain was designed to solve problems, not store hundreds of unfinished ones. Next, create moments where nothing is demanding your attention. Go for a walk without your phone, eat one meal without a screen, sit outside for 10 minutes, drive without a podcast. At first, it'll feel uncomfortable, almost boring. That's because your brain has become so accustomed to constant stimulation that silence feels unfamiliar. But give it time. That silence isn't empty, it's recovery. And finally, stop chasing more motivation. Most people think clarity comes before action. In reality, clarity usually arrives after you've slowed down enough to hear your own thoughts again. Your mind isn't tired because it's weak, it's tired because it's been carrying thousands of tiny mental burdens that were never meant to stay there. So, the next time you catch yourself saying, "I'm just mentally exhausted," ask yourself one question. Is my brain tired, or has it simply never been given the chance to rest? Because those are two very different problems. And once you know the difference, you stop trying to escape your exhaustion, and you finally start recovering from it.